differentiation it gives rise to our ability to measure anything. So something has to be differentiated in order for anything to be measured, or else it's just uniform space, time, and energy. So the fact that there is differences in the universe and what those differences are syntheses, and they start with, whatever. I'll get to the end. So it's just we are a tier 9 synthesis, and when you're comparing them to each other, they will never have the same temperature, meaning that we have a relative temperature, and that relative temperature is dichotomous. Even though there is a strict measurement, I will be cold or hot relative to you.
Great.
You can never have two things that have the same exact temperature.
I thought you were finished. Anyway, so cold has no ontos whatsoever. Cold is
What does that
simply
mean?
the absence of heat.
Yeah, you can't have that.
That is what cold is.
Yeah, you can't have the absence of heat, though. Like the absolute absence of heat is impossible.
Yeah, it's not the absolute absence of heat. Cold is simply a barometer that you get to via the absence of heat. The less heat molecules that you have, right? The closer you get to cold. This is the basics of thermodynamics.
Yeah,
Right?
it's fine to formulate it that way, but the relationship still is dichotomous.
How?
So if you're comparing any two things and you're measuring their temperature, they will always have a different temperature
You know what
if
a
you're at high
dichotomy
enough
is?
accuracy. Huh?
Do you know what a dichotomy is?
Yes. It's two things juxtaposed to each other. And why
Yeah,
I'm saying
so
it's
two
true is
things.
because it's a fundamental physical thing that is as true as possible.
No, it's not a fundamental. What the fuck are you
Yes,
talking?
temperature is fundamental to the universe. It's a form, it's a characteristic of energy, right?
So you're presupposing energy. Yo, Dylan, have you ever
Of
heard
course.
of the three body problem?
Yes, I have,
The
yeah.
show or
Okay.
the phenomenon?
Where it's impossible to measure, well, it gets difficult to measure and they had to reformulate how to measure three bodies in space and like get an accurate depiction of where they're going to be in their orbits or
Yes,
whatever.
it addresses the problem of measurement, right?
Hmm. What about it?
The point is that in a binary system where you only have like 6 dimensions, like you could quote unquote, right, have a true dichotomy or try to define it that way. But once you add like three more dimensions or another body in spatiotemporality, like all our predictive models like kind of go out of conformity.
Hmm. That's a good point.
We don't live in a binary world.
So yeah, so my point isn't necessarily to say that you can't compare three things each to each other, but when you're comparing them, you'll always be comparing two things at a time. So if I'm comparing, let's say,
It's not binary though.
yeah, so it doesn't
I
have to be
compare.
binary. You can say like this thing relative to these other two things, it's cold, right? But then you're still having a binary there. So this thing's
No, you're
cold
not.
relative to these two
No, you're
things.
not. Because if you look at a different group of fruits and you say, "Oh, this is a banana. This is a tomato. These both things are fruits. They are different." But there's a set of things that we're looking at that are not a banana or a fruit. There's other fruits that exist within reality, right?
Sure, you could say that. What does that
Yes.
have to do with it?
When we look at something that is binary, such as the fundamental ontology of heat and cold, cold is simply the absence of heat. So this creates a binary, actually.
But you could also say heat is the absence of cold.
No, you can't, retard.
Why can't you say that?
Because when we look at the fundamental composition of the heat molecules, you can't say that. And you can also look at entropy of
Why
mass.
can't wait? No, no, no. Why can't you say that? Like, what is
Yeah,
wrong
because
with that
there's
formulation?
entropy of mass, you fucking retarded
Yeah,
bitch.
cold doesn't have ontology. That's why you can't say that. Cold doesn't have an ontological state. Heat does.
Why?
Why? Because heat is made up of certain molecules, right, which possess energy. Cold is a lack of that.
Yeah, so the lack of
Yeah,
heat
but
creates cold.
it's just.
So
But
it
you could
can't be
also
the
say
other
the
way
lack of cold
around.
is heat.
No,
Why?
no,
What's
you
wrong
can't.
with
No, you
that?
can't say
No,
that.
you
I
can
just told you why
actually
you can't say
say
that.
no, you
Yeah, but
can't.
it doesn't make any sense.
I literally just explained to you. What do you mean?
You
So
dog.
if something is less cold, that means it's more hot.
No, it doesn't work that way, buddy.
Yes, you're not showing me
Really
how it
not
doesn't
how
make
it
sense.
works, buddy.
I just explained it to you. Are you
Oh my
obtuse?
You're saying it's the lack of heat.
What
Yes, lack of
what is
heat
an
creates
ontology?
cold. So the thing that would be the coldest is the thing that lacks heat the most.
Exactly. Like there's no ontology for cold. We can't point to any matter and say that is cold. But we can point
Yeah,
to matter
you
and say
can't do
that is
that
heat.
with heat either.
Yes, you can, because heat is simply molecules that possess energy.
So when we look at thermodynamics, oh my goodness, and when we look at entropy of mass, right? The whole thing about entropy of mass is about different molecules moving from our energy, rather, working from one workable potential to the other. They lose potentiality. In the same way, if you were to put a hot glass of water into a system, or not even into a system, rather, into a room where it is very cold, the air conditioning is blowing at full force. It's not that the heat can make the room colder, right? It's that the cold reaches the temperature of the glass down to a certain point.
You're
And this
talking
is
about equilibrium.
how do you think equal? Oh my goodness! All right,
Am I explaining what you're saying? That's what you're talking about, the concept of equilibrium?
no, I'm talking about the concept of thermodynamics.
All right, can't hear you with this guy's fucking dishes going on in the background or whatever.
Nah, my bad, buddy.
Yeah, I'm talking about the concept of thermodynamics. When we look at thermodynamics, energy, when we look at energy as units, and when we look at the potentiality of different forms of energy, when it changes
Mhm.
from one workable form to the other, it loses potentiality. Can you at least agree with that?
Yeah, I agree that it can change form, but I don't believe it's losing its potentiality because you can't destroy energy, so it just changes states.
All right.
Unless you believe that you can destroy or get rid of energy,
What would that have to do with potentiality?
because you're saying it doesn't have the potential. I mean, assuming that it doesn't have the potential to become what it was before. It's losing something, but it doesn't. It just changes form.
Okay, man.
Wait, hold on. Change its form into what?
So, for example, you have kinetic energy, right? And you could transfer that into thermal energy, correct?
Yeah, yeah. But
But you can also
how does
change
that
that
produce
thermal
cold?
energy back into kinetic energy.
No, you
Yeah,
cannot.
but how does that
Hold
produce
on. So
coldness?
you don't think electric cars work on that principle?
How does that produce
Hold on, I'm
coldness in
talking
and of
to
itself?
fucking one person at a time here. It's gonna get confusing who I'm talking to.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
fine.
no, that's not really how electric cars work. Because if you understand anything about the thermal exchange or the kinetic exchange, for example, if I were to kick a ball, right, and that were to power some kind of vector that facilitates like a windmill spinning, the windmill spinning generates energy. But when I kick the ball, that vector of power loses ability after I have kicked it, right?
I don't know what you're saying. All I'm saying is that thermal energy and kinetic energy are both have a role in the locomotion of an electric car.
You have no idea what the fuck you're talking
Do you
about.
believe that energy is like same as matter? Like it has ontology same as matter, or do you believe energy is a property?
Yeah, so energy and matter are interchangeable. So it's all just energy.
Completely
So
incorrect.
in mathematics or in cosmology?
In physics and in whatever you want to view it.
So
That's
then
just
how
Like
do you
it's
understand?
just
No,
So the
it's
no,
definition of
no.
hold on.
energy is
E
just
equals
work,
mc
right?
squared.
No. Energy is something that we quantify so that we can deduce, right, causality or
Guys, go into the
motion in
proof Jesus is
observable
God chat.
objects.
Yes, but the characteristics are true.
I
So
think
when
I
you
think
have,
you've been duped, right?
this is so dumb.
Because
I'm
that's
talking to
not
three
how
different people at once right now.
energy is just the measurement, right, of work, right? Between within a certain causality or motion that we observe.
Within a
So
certain
it's real in the sense that it's like
characteristic.
it's part of our like deduction of what's happening at what rate. It addresses the problem of measurement when it comes to like physical objects,
Hmm.
but it doesn't really, it's not like a real thing. Does that make
What do you
sense?
mean it's not a real thing?
It's just a property of matter.
So nothing's real?
No, it's not that it's not real. I mean, here's the thing. Scientists have tried to say that there is a material and type of energy, and they're postulating that it could be this dark energy, dark matter thing, but that's not the same thing as measurable energy.
We're measuring a phenomena that exists
No,
in
no, no.
reality.
Energy is literally the measurement
Yes, we're
of
measuring a
motion or
characteristic
change.
of energy, right? So it could be kinetic, could be thermal, it could be, it comes in many forms, right?
Right, it's right. If it has multiple forms, it's not a real thing.
Why? God has three forms, right? I don't even know what your guys' arguments are. I can't even
No,
follow the logic of
right.
any
I
of
mean,
them.
that's why that okay, we'll go back to square one. Do you believe energy is just as quote unquote like real as matter? Or is it
Yeah,
a property of matter in
yes, it's just
motion or
as real as
change?
matter.
It is not. So that's where you're kind of confusing yourself.
Yeah, I don't even understand what you mean that
It's a
if
quantitative. I
space,
mean, it's
let me
literally
explain
what
like
Fight
this.
was trying to talk to you about. It's a
Yeah.
quantitative property within a system.
Yeah, let me explain like this. If space, time, and energy aren't real, then nothing is real
It's
because
just a measurable
those are
characteristic.
the only things we can measure. So
No, no, no.
in
Energy
terms
is
of
contingent.
empiricism and facts,
Energy is contingent on observable like facts between matter. It's a quantifiable like measurement that we use to deduce what's actually happening.
but it's still an aspect of I don't even know what you're trying to argue against. It sounds like you're agreeing with me.
It's only
It's
a
an aspect
measurement.
of reality we're measuring.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it real.
Yeah, the
You're making a
measurement isn't
cat right,
real,
but
but the thing that we're measuring
you're
is.
making a category error.
Yes, the thing we're measuring is real, but the
And so
measurement
is
itself isn't real.
the
So
thing
when we
is
measure
real.
something to be
The
78
thing is
degrees,
real, and the motion and the change is real.
yes, I agree. But the
But
measurement itself isn't real. So when we measure, hold
energy
on,
is just a property of measurement. It's a heuristic.
I don't agree. I think we're
Yeah,
measuring
because
something
you're making a
real. Hold on, let
category
me
error.
explain. So we're measuring something real, but the measurement itself isn't real.
Correct, it's
So
arbitrary.
yeah, so the amount of the measurement is arbitrary, like degrees, right? Or Celsius. But the thing that we're measuring, the temperature, that is a real phenomenon that exists.
Of motion.
You, well, do you want to say that the universe is all just motion then and reduce it to that?
That's pretty much the physical principle
So that's all
of
God
matter.
created was motion.
You never have matter that's just sitting there static and it's not affected upon, right?
Yeah, I agree, because
That's
that would lead to
literally Newton's
absolute
first
zero,
law, right?
which is impossible.
All things are in motion, right? Are you
Yeah,
like kidding me,
but
dude?
yeah, but it's all relative. It's
No,
always
I think you're
relative to
making
something.
shit up now.
What did I make up? Tell me what is made up.
You have no idea what the fuck you're talking
Well,
about.
you okay? So tell me one
You're
thing
just
that I said
making
that
up
doesn't.
you're
Hold
right,
on,
you're right.
Abysmal.
You're not
Tell me
actually
one thing that I
building
said
you don't actually
that
have
doesn't
like
make sense.
epistemological foundation for any of the assertions that you're making about energy is real.
Yes, I do. It's
No, you
physics.
don't.
So
No,
hold
you're
on.
just so
Hold
you're
on.
just
Let me explain. Let me explain. Does
lazily
physics
hand
say
waving
everything is
over at
relative?
physics, right? In
Does
order to like
physics
create a
say everything is
metaphysical
relative?
system.
Abysmal.
No, no, no. You're making a metaphysical assertion. You've been exposed as a sophist.
Dude, you're obnoxious. Why is it always like I can't even have
Okay,
a
so
regular
so so
conversation with
it's
people?
just we're just going straight to ad homs now.
I
You're
mean,
not
to be fair,
actually
No,
he is
addressing
like
the
obnoxious.
issue.
because you just insulted me
No,
saying I'm a
well, yeah, of
sophist.
course we're
You're
gonna
a fucking
insult you.
idiot.
If here's the thing, but we didn't insult you
You
by
can't
insulting your
even. Yes, you
character.
did. You called
We
me a
literally attacked
sophist.
your yeah, we
You
attacked your
called me a
premise. It
sophist.
turns out, right, that your claim is just fallacious.
No, it's not. What did? Hold on. You haven't even stated my
You
claim.
don't
Tell me
even
my
have a
claim.
valid claim, sir. Like
Abysmo.
you
Tell me
have
my
no
claim.
conclusion that logically follows from your premise.
Abysmo. Tell me my claim, and I can tell you and tell me where it's going wrong. Because all you've done is saying I don't have a good claim. But none of you can even formulate what I've been claiming.
We have. I asked you,
What
do
did I
you
claim?
believe that energy is just as real as matter? And your answer is yes, and I'm telling you, no,
Yes.
it's not. That's not the definition of
I would say
energy, you
it might even
dumbass.
be more real because it's a pattern that exists across many domains. It's
It's more real.
there's three aspects of reality: space, time, and energy. And one of those characteristics is temperature, and that falls under energy. So when you reduce things, it goes down to those three, and they're all connected, inseparable, just like God.
I disagree.
Okay, so can you have energy or no energy,
So
just space and time?
space time might have energy in it, right? And so therefore it's measurable. And how is it measurable? By observing motion or change within the universe. Okay. But
Yes, which is why they're inseparable.
this
So
does
you have
not
to have a
mean this
space to
does
measure
not
it.
mean that space
Has
time is energy. You can't
I
say that.
didn't
That's a
say that.
category error. That's what
I
you
didn't
are
say
saying.
that. I
That's
said
what
they're
you're saying.
three separate, distinct, yet interconnected, just like the description of God.
Right, but just because they're interconnected doesn't make energy just as real as what is observed, you dumbass.
I'm reducing everything into these three categories. Now tell me
Right,
something that
so you're
exists.
being
Hold on.
reductivist.
Tell
So
me something
now
that
the truth is
exists.
coming out, right?
Abismo, tell me something
You
that
right,
exists
you're
that does
work
not fall in the category of space, time, or energy.
you have a self-referential
No, just tell
definition
me
of what
something, and
energy
then it
is.
just shows it's not true.
No one is obligated to understand your position for you.
I'm not telling you to understand it for
You're
me.
just a
I'm
universal
telling you just
skeptic.
to engage with my conversation. Like, dude, okay.
Well, this
Curveball, I feel like
conversation's
Curveball is the most
stupid, so
genuine
I'm just
person
gonna
in here.
fucking mute you. Like, this is crazy, dude. You're gonna come in here and try to preach to everybody about some, like, pseudoscience. You've been exposed. And it's recorded. You're a dumbass. That's insane, dude.